morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 4th, 2019 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance by saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. At this time, open up the floor to public comment. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3, and I'll call on Commissioner DeFilippo to present Michael Levinsky with an award for his 20 years of service to Cumberland County. Michael, Carl.
Michael, congratulations. Thank you. Today, Michael is celebrating his 20 years of service with Cumberland County in the Conservation District. He was hired in March of 1999 as a regional agricultural engineering specialist and was promoted in March of 2013 as a district engineer. Michael, thank you very much for what you do. Here's your award for 20 years of service. Feel free to say anything. Carl might have a word or two.
Yeah. I just say Mike's a very valued employee. He's probably, I think it's safe to say, he's probably our only of the 1,200 employees of Cumberland County, probably the only engineer that we have, a professional engineer employee. So besides agricultural work, he also works with reviewing post-construction stormwater plans that come in with development sites. And he also does some work for our beloved John Locke with facilities management. Where's Mr. Locke? But he does a lot of department layouts with all the changes coming up. He helps John, assist John with that. So he does a lot of good work.
Well, congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
We'll move on to agenda item 4, and joining us today to discuss the letters to municipalities regarding urban county participation in the CDBG program.
Greetings, good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity this morning. Every 3 years, the county has to come up and renew its urban county standing with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It is an important development here for the county, brings in more than $1 million a year in monies that are used to support local municipalities as well as county activities. One of the first steps in the process is sending out notifications to the various municipalities, letting them know that the county is intent on reapplying for the urban county status, but also giving the county's various municipalities information that if they choose to opt out, that they can begin that process as well. There also is, in our instance here in Cumberland County, Shippensburg, which is a split, municipalities. Part of it is here in Cumberland County, the other part in Franklin County. Shippensburg has always chosen to participate in the Cumberland County CDBG urban county status. But we also, again, have to provide them notification that they have the option of selecting which county they would like to choose. So we are under the HUD guidelines that were submitted to us here just a few weeks ago. We have to provide notice to the various municipalities by April 18th of the intent for the county to pursue this. And so we're asking for your consideration today of a couple of letters that were circulated to you in advance. One, the intent to the local municipalities, the other one to Shippensburg about their opportunity for the split. So ask for your consideration of that today and approval to start going forward. This starts a bit of a long process. There are many steps along the way, both by local municipalities, us at the redevelopment authority, and the county, as well as in HUD, and so we will not be hearing about the actual approval of the determination until late fall.
Somewhere in this pile of information, I think I read that 31 municipalities participate.
Yes, in the last go-around.
Why would a municipality not want to participate?
In some respects, Commissioner, you're asking the wrong guy, because I think that there's lots of good reason for a local municipality to participate, because then they can receive funding and support and assistance not only through CDBG, but also home funding here in the county. Also, their population becomes part of the information which is used in completing the formula for the county. And so depending upon the size of that population, that could have a negative impact on the amount of dollars coming here to Cumberland County. So I think there's every reason that a local municipality would want to participate. I think that the efforts that you as the commissioners have done over the years in providing notice about applications for CDBG funds to the local municipalities have been very thoughtful. If a county opts out, then the only option that they have is to try to get monies through the state CDBG monies, which are, again, highly competitive, or they'd have to use local municipality monies for some of the things that they could have received assistance in through CDBG or for home. So my personal view is I don't think there's much to be gained, if anything, by choosing to opt out.
Some of us were taken by a recent article that appeared in the new Capital Star, and it was entitled Makers and Takers. And what it pointed out is that some counties, contribute more and don't get that much back. Other counties contribute less and get a lot more back. And Cumberland County was on the list of being one of the ones that doesn't get as much back as to what we send to Washington or what we send to Harrisburg. So this is one of those programs, and we're anticipating $1.4 million. This is one of those programs that making sure that we have everybody counted, counts, all right? So hopefully this time around, we won't have one of our largest municipalities deciding not to participate, because at the end of the day, it hurts our county. It hurts how much funding we're going to receive. In fact, tens of thousands of dollars perhaps that we're not going to, receive. So hopefully all of our municipalities will participate this time around. I think the last time around was like the first time that we had one of our municipalities not participate. Carlisle has its own designation, right? So they're not included in this letter for whatever reason under the requirements. But what's important is that Shippensburg chooses us to be part of the urban county designation. And of course, all of our other municipalities, choose not to opt out. And essentially, if they don't opt out, they're in counted population. So Tim and I have been talking about this for a couple of weeks here. This is the letter is very similar to what the commissioner sent 3 years ago.
So, Tim, when you talk about 31 of the 33, all right, so this.
I'm sorry, Carlisle has its own, so.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
We're only about Hampton.
Yeah.
Hampton essentially opted out.
3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yes.
Basically, to make a statement, as it were, against what they consider to be federal overreach and a protest against the perception that they don't get much from the county. I can't speak to the first, the second is including basins. But the second one is Carlisle, and that's merely because they qualify on their own.
Yes, sir.
And their numbers then are not included with our numbers at all.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I can see us try to do some type of active outreach to address some of the perceptions or misperceptions that they may have had, so that rather than just sit back and wait and see if they're gonna opt in.
I did personally, I made a call to the president of the Board of Commissioners and indicates that this was a good plan.
Okay. All right.
But we certainly can do some other outreach as you guys move.
I think that would be much to be encouraged. I've also reached out to the folks at Shippensburg, Kevin Plasterer, down there as well, so that he is aware that this is coming. In my conversation with him, he saw no reason that they would change their current wanting to participate with Cumberland County. But yes, I would agree with you that additional, gentle persuasion would be useful. Because Camden Township right now is roughly 12% of the population of Cumberland County. Although the numbers vary, as you know, from CDBG and home from year to year, they bounce around based on the federal allocations. But based on the last year, just as Jim mentioned, there were tens of thousands of dollars that would have been lost, that were lost by not having Camden Township participate.
Anything else?
No, sir, just asking for your action today to review that I can work with Sandy to get the letter sent out in a timely manner. So,
We have a motion to renew our county's effort, your county qualification for participation in the CDBG program.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the letters to be sent to our municipalities.
I'll second.
Second, motion is second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
thank you. We'll keep you up to informed, and I'll continue with Sandy around this. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, move on to agenda item 5, and Nikki will be discussing Penn State University debt release agreement for children and youth.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to request your signature on the data agreement between Children and Youth and the Penn State University. They're doing a research project, which about 30 counties are in right now. What they're doing is able to access our CAPS data system and different state databases, and they're working to give us information about in regards to like a time study. So how much time it takes per case for caseworkers. Again, they've already done this for approximately 30 counties, and there's some new ones coming on board. I think this will help me in the future, looking at planning for new staff and statewide to have the Department of Human Services see kind of issues surrounding repetitive nature, data entry, and looking at turnover. This was something that they asked us to join in 2 years ago. I kind of stayed back and waited, and in January did get to see the presentation of the information that came out, and I found it very helpful. So I'm opting to kind of join in now.
Commissioners, any questions for Nikki?
Is there any cost to this?
There's no cost.
No cost?
No cost.
Any additional questions?
Should we be sharing data from the state?
Correct. They would be accessing data, they wouldn't be downloading any data, and there was a data sheet that I think I also produced, I reviewed. It is high security because obviously it is very confidential information. So to get to the room, it's not a database, I'm gonna talk probably above me. It's not a server that's accessed by other students, or it is its own single server. It is in a locked room that needs a passcode to get in. And so they're not downloading our data, they are applying an algorithm, and then we're giving me a report out of it that I would be able to use.
My only concern would be security.
Correct.
It sounds like you have it covered. Staff, any comments? Concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Next, we move on.
Yep.
Next, we move on to agenda item 6, contracting grants. Well,
Good question.
Good morning, Commissioners. Agenda item 6, Roman numeral 1, agenda item 6.1A are existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county. This includes the following department: drug and alcohol agreement, PA Department of Human Services addendum. Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Roman numeral 2, this consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. Again, with Aging and Community Service Agreement. Joan?
Good morning. This is a quick one. This is just additional monies for Adams County Area Aging, excuse me. It's pass-through funding for PA Lake Services for VEPA and ADRC activities. The additional amount is $1,500 from the previous contract, bringing the total to $1,940.
Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Joan. Next, we'll move to Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center Agreement. Melissa?
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is a revenue contract before you between United Healthcare and Optima. They've invited us to join their network supporting the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's scheduled to launch in June of this year, June 26, 2019. And they're Optum and United Healthcare are collaborating to manage the VA initiative. And again, all this is a revenue contract. They will pay us skilled rates at the highest, the Medicare skilled rates. So it's will be a good contract for Claremont.
Anybody have any questions? Do you have anything else to add? No?
No, not for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, I'll call on Annie Straight to discuss the 3 agreements for NIHIDD. Annie?
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I have 3 contracts to discuss with you folks, 2 of which are amendments to existing contracts. The first one I'll talk about is one that's a new contract. It's actually with Susquehanna Software, and the reason why we have approached them to check out if we would be able to use their services is back in 2012, the state rolled out a consolidated community reporting initiative whereby all of the county MH programs are required to submit consumer-related data to the state. The state rolled this out in 2012. We were in the 4th phase of that project, which occurred in, I believe, 2015. We, so far, have been unsuccessful in our ability to send in consumer-related data. 2 weeks ago, I attended a training specifically around this initiative, and again, was struck by how challenging this has been for us. This company has created a name for themselves by doing this for many other counties within the state. According to the map that we saw during the presentation, there's only a few counties who have been unsuccessful to deliver the data that they need. This contract would be in part through the fiscal year this year and then through next year as well. And the total is $76,200. We had been working with our county IMTO office and had been paying half a salary, but because of staff leaving and we've had challenges with that as well as other priorities, people were pulled multiple directions. So we believe this is a good opportunity for us to step forward with this. We know that we would be able to produce the data. Part of the program description they had given to us is that they would be able to assist us in submitting our data for this fiscal year as well as for next fiscal year, and then the cost would be less each year. We've been working with Mark Adams, with IMTO, and we believe this is a good opportunity to do that. Do you folks have any questions?
I guess my question would be, is we have a rather large IMTO department, Mark's there. But we haven't been able to figure this out internally to make this work.
We've had success, partial success. It's been very time consuming because we submit reports. They get error reports. We have to then decipher what the errors are. So it's a pretty complex system. In addition, we have, I'll say, we've been developing, not just during my time, but prior to my time, they have had an IT presence over there. We've then pulled that into IMTO to try to get some better hands wrapped around it. The issue is they have multiple applications hitting different data sources. So the data is in multiple different locations, and utilizing a system like Susquehanna pulls it into a central repository of information, similar to the way we use CAPS today for children and youth. So it's updated, it's interfaced with the state better, it's streamlined. I think in the big picture, it will make their office more efficient in how they manage their data as well.
Would this cost all be county costs and state assistance?
It would be coming from our state grant that we received. Any other questions about the Susquehanna software? Thank you. And the other two contracts are amendments to our early intervention program. The first one is for international corporate training and marketing, and it's an increase of $64.76 due to additional services, and what it is language interpretation. And the second one is Joanna Carnes, who's a therapist, and her contract needs to go up a bit, $7,630, due again to additional services being rendered. Early intervention is a state mandated service, so we must increase the contracts. Do you have any questions about those contracts? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Annie. And Commissioners, just for your information, Annie was so good to bring the Susquehanna software presentation. It's also listed under your capital projects as one. So just want to let you know that. And we'll move on. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Next, Kirk.
Okay. Commissioner, first item there is liquid fuels finance grant. Rarely do we have the feds call us and say, we want to give you more money. This is the one time that it did happen. The reimbursement agreement for Wolf Bridge that we looked at last week, it left off construction inspection, so this revised reimbursement agreement captures the construction inspection. And so we're looking at a total of $3.3 million.
Okay, Kirk, keep collecting that.
Good news, right?
I'm sure you return their calls very quickly.
Second one there, the planning department agreement, the county planning department's working with public safety to do an update to our hazard mitigation plan. They have a grant from FEMA for $50,000. Michael Baker is our consultant on that. We scoped them out to do a little additional work on that, up to $37,500. Local match of that is coming from our in-kind service from the county GIS, county planning, and public safety staff, so there's no impact to the general fund. This was just an addendum to do a little additional work that we did pursue.
Any questions for Kirk? Hearing none. Thank you, Kirk. We'll move on. Claudia Garner is joining us, BTC, to discuss the Hexagon Safety and Infrastructure Agreement. Claudia?
Good morning. Public Safety is asking for your approval of a change order to the Hexagon CAD contract in the amount of $30,078, which is a result of the change in the hypervisor, the design of the virtual server environment and setup. As outlined in your talking points that we gave to you yesterday, there are two most common types of hypervisors that are used, VMware and Hyper-V. And during the final hardware configuration planning, it was recommended the best solution would be achieved through the VMware solution. The change order is primarily labor intensive and in excess of 200 hours, with the performance responsibility being placed solely on the vendor to ensure an efficient and productive computer-aided dispatch solution. So that change order is with Hexagon in the amount of $30,078, non-recurring expense.
Commissioners have any questions for Claudia?
Just I'll ask the question now that our solicitor's here, wasn't here for the public safety meeting, or the finance meeting yesterday, but the question on this is that this is shifting the responsibility away from us to Hexagon. I want to make sure that the contract is clear about them assuming all these responsibilities that go with this.
It's an addendum to the underlying contract. I mean, I have to go back to the contract. It's about hundreds of pages long.
Just want to make sure that we don't have a situation like we had before with the other entity.
I'd have to go back to the contract. I have to look at the addendum again. I mean, if they're assuming a responsibility that was originally theirs under the contract, I should be able to determine that by looking at it. So I'll take a look at both of them.
Thanks.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thanks. Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to Justin Miller. He's joining us BTC to discuss the recycling and waste grant. Justin?
Good morning. What I have for you is called a PADP application for registration. It's really kind of a pre-grant. We submitted to DEP for our 2019 Household Hazardous Waste Disposal Program. Basically, it tells them who we're using as a contractor, where the material is going, and we do give an estimate of what we think the cost will be. And then after the program is concluded, we will come back to them for an actual grant application with exact dollars for 50% of the eligible cost. So this just makes us available, or eligible to apply for the grant after the program has concluded.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Justin.
Justin,
Yes.
just hang out there for a second. Do you want to discuss the bid results for the maintenance and repair of yard waste equipment?
Yes. So we, this was our second round to bid that. We did not receive any bids the first round. Again, sent courtesy copies to multiple businesses. This is for maintenance and repair work on our trommel screen and leaf turner. We did receive one bid this time from Beacon Equipment in the amount of $26,850. I had estimated, I believe, 30 or 31,000, so I was comfortable with their bid amount, and I recommend that you award the contract to Beacon Equipment.
Any questions? Thank you, Justin. Next, we move on to agenda item 8, and John Laughlin will be joining us BTC to discuss the results for the paving of parking lots and line painting for Cumberland County. John?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is, there are two bid announcements. One for 1615 Rittner Highway, which is formerly the Echo Building, and one for 1001 Claremont Road property, which is currently a barn in the recycle area. We've received two bids for the paving. The high bid came in at $46,691.15 for 1615 Rittner Highway, and the low bid was $34,850. The low bidder was Fayetteville Contractor, and the other high bid came in for the barn recycle area at $113,427.50, and the low bid from Fayetteville Contractor was $94,150. Any questions?
John, what's the size difference between the Redner Highway property and Claremont?
As far as the size difference, it's a little bit larger. However, the problem with the barn situation is that the complete asphalt that's down there now has to be taken up and ground.
Okay.
We're just doing a top coat at 1615, which makes the prices different. And they'll be taking up the complete base coat of the barn, reapplying it for a base, and then applying a 4-inch paving coat over top of that.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
And I'd like to recommend award to Fayetteville as a low bidder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on to agenda items 9 and 10, and I'll call on Holly Sherman to discuss the ICMA administrative agreement along with the resolution 2019-11 regarding the 457 deferred compensation plan. And then agenda item 10 will be the discussion of the 457B plan termination letters to Valak and Nationwide. Holly?
Good morning, Commissioners. The Administrative Services Agreement with ICMA RC is the next step in the recommendation from the Retirement Board to move the county's 457B program to ICMA RC. The agreement itself has been reviewed by Deputy Controller Bob DeGrossa, myself, and Solicitor thoroughly with revisions back and forth between ourselves and ICMA RC, as well as the involvement from our CAT associates as their fiduciary services that they're providing to us. And then the resolution would be adopting the plan as a trust that is referenced in the agreement. So that's item number 9 for your review. And then pending the approval of the agreement and the resolution, signing of the resolution, would recommend the termination letters be signed, notifying Valley and Nationwide that will be terminating our plans with them.
Any questions for Holly? Thank you, Holly. Next, we'll move on to discussion of capital project requests, and we'll begin with Nancy Hahn and Bob Ames. Discuss the DICAM brain project, total project cost of $20,700. We'll move on to IMTL. Mark, you're here to discuss the computer spring life cycle 2019 total project cost $157,136.
Morning, Commissioners. This is our normal spring life cycle for computer purchasing for the spring. It's $157,000 for 85 computers. It's a little higher than normal just because the number is higher. It's also a little higher because of the purchase of laptops instead of PCs as we move more toward mobile devices. They are a little bit more pricier. The big departments that are going to be hit this time are children and youth with 22 computers, MHID with 18, and then nursing home has a piece of this to have some of their staff be mobile within their own office space and within their own building infrastructure. So the total price of $157,000, though, of that only $18,000 is county general fund. So most of it's covered underneath the state and the reimbursement from other counties and departments.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark. Next, we'll move back up to Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, and I believe Nancy's joining us to discuss the DICOM brain project for a total project cost of $20,700.
Good morning. The DICOM brain system will be really useful for our residents. We've already seen some interesting results from the initial uses of our residents. It is meant to provide cognitive stimulation that will help to prevent a decline in cognitive skills. It provides it through a short 20-minute interaction 3 to 5 times a week. They will interact with the screen. It gives them a series of games that are intended to stimulate different parts of their brain. And it's good for residents who have dementia as well as residents who want to maintain the cognitive abilities that they have. The project is $20,700 initially, but yearly there will be a $3,500 subscription to the service, which will provide unlimited users. We can register every resident in the building for that amount, and they can use it on their own equipment or on our equipment.
Any questions for Nancy?
Nancy, is this technology something new? Is it used in other facilities, you know?
It is used, I've used it in other facilities. So it is not brand new, but it is cutting edge because they update it constantly. For instance, if I'm a resident and I sign on to use it today, if I do really well and knock it out of the park, tomorrow it will be incrementally more difficult to continue to challenge me. However, if I have a bad day and I use it and I'm not getting anything right, the next day it will be slightly easier. So it is very cutting edge in that it's constantly adjusting and shifting to each user.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, I just have a question. So Nancy, my understanding of this in reading some minutes of the Friends of Claremont, that essentially the initial purchase is going to be made by the nonprofit, is that correct?
That's correct. Friends of Claremont have sponsored this project. They bought the initial machine that's dedicated to DICOM, as well as they have said they would buy 3 iPads for use throughout the building for residents who don't have their own equipment. And we will be providing purchasing 3 iPads as well.
Okay, so let me just understand this a little. So we're gonna be spending more than $20,000 initially?
No,
No, okay.
no.
The $20,000
That's-
initial expense, is that coming from Friends of Claremont?
Most of it is. The initial subscription is coming from them, that's $3,500 for the year. The machine is coming from them, that's $1,500. And they have said that they would buy 3 of the iPads, and that, I think they're $600 a piece. So they are making a significant investment in the whole thing. Every year, the $3,500 subscription will come out of the activities budget, and it is there for it.
All right, so it would be an annual, it would come out of Claremont's funds, you know, for the subscription?
Correct.
Are you sure about that? Because the $20,700 cost equates to what looks like 4 years of maintenance or subscription renewal. Is that $20,700?
There are 3 years of maintenance in the
Yeah.
cost.
But the Friends of Claremont are paying what of that $20,700? Or are they paying the whole thing?
The Friends of Claremont are paying for the initial subscription of $3,500 and the equipment. And 3 laptops, correct.
I don't have the capital project in front of me, but I believe the 20,000 includes 5 years
It does.
total. So
Yeah.
year 2, 3, 4, and 5 are gonna be picked up by Claremont, and that's just the subscription fee of $3,500
A year, yes.
a year.
Thank you.
Correct.
The first year, Friends of Claremont has paid for the computer, the first year of subscription, and 3 up to 6 laptops.
Correct.
So the county technically, I think, is on the hook for the first year of 3 iPads, and that comes to $700 a piece, so $2,100 for 3 iPads. And then the annual subscription going forward.
Okay.
Okay, Nancy, could I ask you another question?
Yes.
Was this an initiative of Friends of Claremont, or was this an initiative of essentially Claremont itself to Friends of Claremont? Or how did this all come about? I'm just curious.
Friends of Claremont asked what they could do that would benefit all of the residents in the facility. And this was one of the things that I had listed to them that would benefit all of the residents in the facility.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
The next capital was for MHIE, which Annie had discussed earlier whenever she did her presentation for her contracts. So now we move on to the Commissioners' Liaison Reports, and we get with Commissioner DeLiva.
I do not have any of this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Herzberg?
Okay, thanks, Sandy. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority boards met Thursday, March 21st. A report is being prepared on the results of the Housing Summit that was held March 8th in Carlisle. And work continues on development of a new 5-year consolidated housing plan to meet the federal requirements. The townhomes at Factory Square are in Carlisle here, all leased up. While there's still a significant wait list for the Housing Choice Vouchers, efforts continue to reach the budgeted target of 1,331 families receiving rental assistance under the program. In the meantime, I was joined just last evening by Housing Authority, Redevelopment Authority Executive Director Tim Whalen, as we reminded the East Pennsylvania Township Board of Commissioners of the award last year of $329,000 in federal home funds for West Fairview for the acquisition and rehabilitation of houses for resale in the former borough to income-eligible first-time home buyers. As there always is the case with this money, it has to be spent within 2 years of the award, and our appearance at the township meeting last night was just to serve as a friendly reminder that this funding will go away if it's not spent by the end of next year or the beginning of 2021 at the latest. We've asked for the township's assistance in identifying properties to apply for rehab and resale through the nonprofit Tri-County Housing Development Corporation and in cooperation with the county's housing and redevelopment authorities. The Cumberland County Conservation District Board met Tuesday evening, March 26th, and I was asked to administer the oath of office to Michael Ward, who was sworn in to fill the unexpired term of our departed friend, Wilbur Wolf. The Conservation District Board has asked us to designate the week of May 5 through the 11th as Conservation District Week to recognize the work of the 66 conservation districts across the state, including our own, in helping to support landowners in the conservation of our natural resources. And I believe that's in process. Is that the board recommended 2 summer interns to help staff with farm inspections this summer. And since the farm inspections began, most of our farmers are complying with the law and meeting conservation requirements. However, the district is reporting to DEP for enforcement. One farmer, the first to be reported since we commenced the inspections in-house for non-compliance. The district's annual tree seedling sale will be held on Thursday afternoon, April 25th, and Friday morning, April 26th. And this Friday, April 5th, is the deadline for orders in case anybody here wants to purchase some tree seedlings. And for the benefit of my colleagues, according to the records kept at the Conservation District, and not counting whatever the final totals are this year, 264,841 trees have been planted in our county as a result of the district's annual tree seedling sale for the past 18 years, going back to 2000. But the program actually began in 1977, and the guesstimate is that about 500,000 trees have been sold for planting by the citizens of our county since the inception of the program 42 years ago. 1977 was a very good year. That was the year my first daughter was born. That was also the year that I took a job here in Harrisburg and moved to the metropolis of East Pennsboro Township in Cumberland County, where I've lived ever since. I met last Friday on behalf of the board with representatives of Geisinger Holy Spirit. And the meeting that was arranged for us, along with representatives of the region's state legislative delegation, was designed to update us on the future plans of Geisinger Holy Spirit. And I tell you, I came away very impressed with the hospital's new strategic planning and encouraged by Geisinger Holy Spirit's renewed commitment and investment in Cumberland County. They are building a new expanded facility in South Middleton Township to serve the Carlisle area with a renewed focus across the board on primary care, with the goal of cutting down on expensive emergency room visits and hospital stays. They have launched what they're calling Geisinger at Home, where doctors, like in the good old days, will be making house calls. And they're working with their doctors to allow for same-day appointments and providing for call ahead to schedule an appointment at their urgent care facilities to eliminate any wait when a patient arrives. And they're focusing on what they're calling proven recovery, where they're treating the patient before surgery with nutritional supplements and other practices for better outcomes after surgery. And they say their doctors have cut opioid prescriptions by 30%. And they are proud to be a part of the collaborative effort here in our county that has resulted in a 40% reduction in the number of opioid deaths in the past year. The new level 2 state-of-the-art trauma care unit at Holy Spirit is receiving most all accident gunshot victims that are transported by ambulance from throughout the region. Those, trauma victims are no longer all going to Pershing Medical Center. At Holy Spirit last year, they treated 2,500 accident and gunshot victims. In the meantime, they're planning to open 3 new robotic operating rooms in the near future. And again, I was just very impressed by this year's visit to Geisinger Holy Spirit. And that's all I have. By the way, they employ about 2,000 of our constituents.
Thank you, Commissioner Sexton. Commissioner Eichenberger.
Just a handful of items. The folks have been at most of the same meetings I have. I don't believe anything from planning, unless Kirk, you had anything additional to the? No. Okay. But I did read your email yesterday, so the answer is yes.
Okay.
We can talk about it. Okay. Also, and since we have presentations coming up, I don't know that the date is settled for the finalist candidates for Katie's CEO position. I'll get you information on that as soon as I have it. I'm trying to get a clearer picture of where that stands. And we are going to have several members of staff be present at those as well, so we can garner some staff input, which has been neglected at this point. And although the board is not inviting the liaisons to the board, Kirk, I would appreciate it if you would be able to sit in on those presentations. I'll get you more information on it shortly. You could make that great, not a major issue if you can, but I think we value your input.
What's the date again on that year?
Don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'll get you that information. And I should have it today. If not today, then definitely. So, but if you're able to sit in on that, that would be nice. So you've got a choice to make there, and hopefully it's going to be concluded soon. Also, Justin handled most of the recycling stuff. The meeting last month was canceled, but there were a few items. The leaf turner conflict screening he addressed today. He said they're really busy with yard waste this time of year. Was trying to get the equipment all the time, of course, so to be expected. They have a lot of equipment maintenance and training the operators going on. Of course, it's very key to making the program work. We've had some insufficiently trained operators in the past that created some issues for us. So redoubling the effort to make sure that we don't have repeated that. He also addressed the application for the household waste recycling, household hazardous waste recycling program, and we'll have more information on that shortly. He did give me an update on the electronic recycling. So February was the slowest month, 1,876 pounds per day on average, but that's most likely due to weather. For March, they were back up to 2,412, so went from 1,876 to 2,412. He said April's off to a great start. By yesterday, they had 5,284, so that's a lot of junk. It's in the right place instead of in the wrong place, so continue to consider that very good news. And when John Locke mentioned the repaving earlier, that'll prompt a brief shutdown of the center at the appropriate time, so we have to make sure we push the message out there that it's going to be closed for a few days, but I think that's all just going to be during one week.
Yeah, John's going to do it quick. We're shifting around the operation of the electronics recycling too, so we're integrating some of that into the project.
Oh, okay.
Be safer, a little more efficient for our guys.
Excellent, love it. Okay. And I believe that's everything I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichenberger. I would like to request an executive session be held directly after this meeting regarding land negotiations and personnel issues. Under other business, I do have one item that I would like to talk about, and that is, we currently have a contract for Rockland Consulting, and it's due to expire days in advance of an identified termination date. I provided the contract to Keith for review, and he's fine with everything. The amount will remain the same, so, you can either take action request on this today, or if you prefer, you can do that on one day. Do you have any questions regarding this?
Is this the revision that's in our packet?
Yes.
Because it's dated 2018, 2019.
Okay, I'll make sure that's changed.
I prefer to take action on the,
Okay.
you guys are okay with this?
That's fine.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other business?
I'm just saying, sir, we just got notification that Melissa from CNRC would like to speak to the commissioners. Oh, on a hospice agreement.
Go ahead on the contract. Where's the music when you need it?
Is she there and just muted?
There's no,
There's no,
I don't see anybody.
either she's very blue today.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, sorry about that. I didn't get the new agenda with the Spirit Trust on there, so I apologize. Spirit Trust Lutheran is another hospice revenue contract. We have a husband that is requesting that we use this hospice for his wife. It's a standard contract. The solicitor's office has reviewed it, and finance has reviewed the contract.
What's the name again, please?
It's Spirit Trust
Spirit
Lutheran
Trust.
Hospital.
any questions?
Is there any way that we could have an action on this today by chance? So
It's
we
been
can
reviewed
call
by
it and get
solicitor.
her started.
I'll move for approval today.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second
Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, is there any other business that needs to come before the board?
it. Sandy, I have one thing I would pass this on. I'm not necessarily asking for consideration for action today, but as you know, at least tentatively, Governor Wolf is planning to visit the former West Fairview borough, the village of West Fairview, tomorrow morning. And essentially, he's going to be going on a walking tour. And it's part of his plan to promote the enactment of what he's calling Restore Pennsylvania. As you know, he has, as part of his budget proposal, suggested a plan that would address a lot of our infrastructure needs across the Commonwealth through the use of a modest extraction fee on the Marcellus Shale, and what he would do with the funding from the extraction tax is he would finance a bond issue of $4.5 billion. And, one of the things that he's talking about, I had an opportunity to look through the summary of the governor's plan, is, he's talking about the issue of addressing, blight. He's talking about the issue of trying to provide funding for MS4. A lot of our municipalities are actually looking into, and some have, implemented a rain tax. This would help to perhaps forestall and negate, further enactment of rain taxes. In addition to that, He's talking about, providing assistance in the case of flooding, like we had this past summer in Cumberland County, that didn't quite qualify for any federal disaster relief. He's talking about helping to provide, if you will, that funding in those cases where there's, significant loss. In our case last year, it was in the Newville area and West Pennsboro Township that there was significant damage to businesses and homes. And also other, initiatives such as, and I know that this is important for our Economic Development Corporation, talking about, providing funding for site development and having, pads ready to go for businesses that are interested in locating. And I think even more critical than all that is, we have this Sunoco pipeline that's running from western Pennsylvania through Cumberland County, and it goes down to Marcus Hook. And it's all being shipped overseas, He's talking about actually connecting the natural gas resource to our businesses and residents to make our businesses much more competitive when they can lower their energy costs through the use of Pennsylvania natural gas. So there's a lot of things that, he's interested in addressing here. I know that when he comes tomorrow to visit West Fairview, he'll be seeing a lot of things that could use some resources. And so what I placed before my colleagues today is a model resolution that would allow us to go on record in support of the governor's proposal if we're interested. And I would just say that I think that, our early support and what the township commissioners in East Pennsboro, they're considering this, and other municipal partners, that it might help to put us on the map in terms of if this is adopted to receive some consideration. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Herzog. Okay, any other business?